Deck the halls with bells of holly. La 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 la. Yo, what's good, people? It's Christmas time, baby. It's the first time I'm doing episodes around Christmas. I'm so excited. I should have my hat, man. I got a hat right over there. I don't even know I'm not wearing it anymore. I didn't wear it all month. But hey, Beeline, listen, guys, listen. This has been an amazing year, and we're closing it out strong. You see, I got a screen on the screen. Another guest is on with us, and it's going to be a very interesting guest. I can't wait for you guys to talk with us today. But thank you guys so much. It's been so much love, so much support for this show. The show is growing, and I cannot wait for 2023. I want to have like a New Year's spectacular, just going crazy with fireworks and everything and shit. But yo, listen, it's your boy Brian B. We got a screen on the screen, and it's about to go down because we on the line today, and we got somebody that y'all probably know very well. I know him very well. We gonna talk to him, but before we do that, we gotta do this. Let's go.
Straight to the point, baby.
It's going down in
3, 2, 1.
People, it's your boy
Brian B.
Let's go.
Back on the beeline. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited.
Is the influence you have.
Again with strangers.
You gotta be a clean baby's ass.
Hold on real quick.
Knows the hands of fate.
People, it's your boy, Brian B. Welcome to the Beeline Web Show. Let's go. Yes, there we go. Yes, I love you guys. No, I'm going to say it again, even though I said it already. Thank you guys so much for the love, the support, for everything that's been going on this year. This year has been amazing, man. I've been so happy to, dive further into this experience, build the business, going strong, people coming on, showing off on the entertainment show. It's been so amazing. But if you haven't already, man, please make sure you hit the like, you share, you subscribe, you leave your comments. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you want for Christmas. I don't care. Tell me everything. I want to know your life. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, all right, I'm amped up today. I'm amped up all the time. You act like it's just today. But yo, we got a screen on the screen, guys, and we have a very special guest with us. This special guest may be looking kind of familiar to you guys, especially if you 80s babies, man. You know what it is, the sitcom days, baby. You miss them. You know the Full Houses and the TGIF and the Family Matters and the Growing Pains. Remember Growing Pains, baby? We got a guest from the Growing Pains sitcom back in the day, Mr. Jeremy Miller, y'all. Yes. What's going on, Mr. Miller?
Brian, how you doing, man?
Man, phenomenal, man. I'm so happy to be talking with you today. Thank you so much for taking time and gracing my show with your presence, man. Very excited, like I said, man. Very excited. We're gonna get to know him in this episode. We're gonna talk to him. He's got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stuff that I didn't even know, man. Mr. Jeremy, you got a busy life, man. You definitely have done a lot. I can't wait to have the conversation and let everybody experience you. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up because I have to, because I'm a fanboy out and I'm so excited. But let's start off with introduce yourself and kind of like let a little bit about yourself. Just kind of start off.
No problem. Jeremy Miller. You may know me from Growing Pains, as Brian said. I was Little Ben Seaver for 7 years on one of the iconic 80s shows, and I was incredibly blessed to have a part in that.
Beautiful.
I started acting when I was about 5 years old, and I got real successful real quick as a kid. It took a while. I mean, about 2 years, 2.5 years of solid auditioning every single day, 4 or 5 auditions a day sometimes. I think the total number was well over 400. In my first 10 auditions, I booked a McDonald's commercial.
Okay.
And of course, you're thinking, oh, with 10 auditions, this is easy.
Yeah.
It was almost 3 years before I got my next part.
Oh,
and
man.
I mean, 400 and some odd auditions, and I was coming down to like the final 2, the final 3 every time, but I wasn't booking anything. And odd enough, right at that time, because my mom was, we were struggling financially. my mom was a teacher, but she couldn't work full time and keep us going back and forth into Hollywood and all that.
Got it. Yeah.
So she sat me down after one of these auditions and she said, look, I think we only have another month or two of this left. Unless something starts happening, we're going to have to quit. And I swear to you, within 6 weeks, I started booking. I started booking almost everything. I booked a part on Different Strokes. I booked a part on Punky Brewster. I booked a part on Pryor's Place, which a lot of people don't remember. It was a Saturday. It was a Saturday morning show that Richard Pryor actually put together as a kids show, and it was this like Saturday morning kind of variety show, sketch show, and it was a really cool show. If you can ever, Google it or find it on YouTube.
Be like, you're gonna see it right now.
Robin Williams guest spotted on there. I mean, all sorts of people came on, and it was all geared towards kids.
That's crazy. That was like, I never heard of that.
Yep, that was like the third thing I did. Then I booked a movie. I booked a TV movie with Stephanie Powers and Barry Bostwick. It was an NBC miniseries that we actually got to go film in London when I was 7 years old. I mean, as things just hit that rolling, and they didn't stop. I just started landing every big role. And even when I got Growing Pains, I actually landed 2 different roles at that exact same time. There was another show that was going to be coming out that season called Fathers and Sons, starring Merlin Olsen. And I booked the lead role in that as well. But you can't screen test for 2 parts. When you screen test, you basically have already accepted the contract.
Gotcha.
So we had to make a decision. And at the time, my agent and everybody around us was saying we needed to go with the NBC show, Fathers and Sons. That Merlin Olsen and the rest of the cast they had were, more established on TV at that point. They had a better track record, and that NBC was at their peak at that point. Yeah. So everybody's telling us that this is the show we should accept. For some reason, that little voice in my family's head, my grandmother and my mother, they had something in them that just knew Growing Pains was the right choice. And sure enough, we chose to go with Growing Pains, and the rest is history. Fathers and Sons, I don't think they made it through their entire first season before being canceled. And we got to go on and do 7 years on just an amazing show with some of the greatest people I ever got to know.
That's freaking awesome, man. Yeah, for real. And it's crazy hearing you saying, because like I said earlier, like literally the time of the sitcoms, man. It's like I feel like the 80s going into the 90s, like there was so many great shows out, man. And we talk about it a lot on the on the show here. I actually have another show. I have an entertainment show, and I was kind of thinking like, should I put on an entertainment show? But we have more segments on it. I wanted you to come on and talk about like your story and everything like that on the web show where we're doing now. But I love like the sitcoms and like the feel good shows and the shows with like dialogue and messages and stuff like that. There's a lot of good content out now, but I feel like that family kind of oriented shows aren't really the same anymore, man. Growing Pains was a staple, like a classic, man.
I'll tell you, I honestly, and I always preface saying this by, I loved these shows. So don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from them.
Yeah.
But Married with Children and Roseanne, in my opinion, were the death of the classic family sitcom.
Okay.
Because they brought reality into it. They brought the dysfunction into it. They brought, and again, it made for some great shows.
Yeah.
But we got away from the idyllic family show. That show where everything wrapped up perfectly and you got that good message, and they brought more of real life into it, which in a way made it great and more real, but at the same time you lost some of that.
Man,
all those classic shows just kind of went by the wayside after that, and everybody started introducing more and more dysfunction and reality into the family show.
That's really interesting. Until you just said that right now, I never would have even thought about that. And I know I was a huge Married with Children fan. I was a huge Roseanne fan.
Me too. Both of those shows. I mean, I was just like you, man. I was a huge sitcom kid. I mean, I watched them all. And given that I was working, I tended to get home a little later. So I watched a lot of the later sitcoms as well. Night Court and Cheers and
all day.
shows, man. They were some of the great, it was really a great era for television.
Yep. Yeah, man. It really was, man. And it's so amazing. So like hearing your story is amazing. And this is like this is really interesting for me, man. Because like I said, I grew up watching, Full House and Boy Meets World and all the classics, man. All the classics that was out there. You started this as a kid. And that's all that's something that you see very, I'm not gonna lie, very controversial at times. But also very like, it's very crazy to see like a child put in a position that is complicated for an adult to be in, to act, to have such responsibility and such like, when you're on a movie set. I was actually, I'm not bragging, but I was actually in a movie and I did a movie for a producer that came on the show, and it was just a really small part, but just to do it and see like the responsibility of having to speak with somebody and kind of have them play off of your lines. So if you forget your lines or you go up in your lines or whatever, it's messed. To know that a kid is doing that, you know what I mean? Like it's so impressive, man.
There was a lot of pressure like that, but the fun part for me was that I enjoyed it. I was very blessed in that it was always my choice to do it. My mom presented the opportunity to me when I was 5.5 years old, and asked, if I'd like to be like one of those kids on TV and give that a try.
Yeah.
And I, what kid wouldn't be like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds fun. But I actually loved it. I loved the auditioning process. I loved getting in front of the camera and performing. So even with all the negatives, and there were plenty, I mean, I can tell you, I basically had a nervous breakdown at 10 years old from the pressure. I still have insomnia and other things I deal with, dating all the way back to that. Because 10 years old and I'm the sole provider for my family. 10 years old and I'm basically the head of the house. 10 years old and I have to be acting as an adult and interacting with adults in a professional manner as a child. Now given we had a great set, I got to be a kid. I mean, having Kirk and Tracy on the show with me and them being in their teen years at that time, I mean, we messed around like siblings would. So it wasn't all work, but you had to show up and you had to perform and you needed to carry yourself in a certain way, and it makes you grow up real quick.
Yeah, I can imagine. But at least, like you said, like it sounds like you got a good story out of it and you were able to kind of, really enjoy the experience, man. Because you hear about so much, other stuff going on and other weird shit going on and stuff like that or whatever. And it sucks because we grew up on this stuff and we enjoy, like we say, and the message that's given from like shows like Growing Pains and the other ones. It's good to see this stuff and know that it's not real, but it still develops you, man. As you're watching these wholesome, family kind of, messages, it's developing you. And I base a lot of how I grew up and how I feel now and how I interact with even my kids off being like watching these sitcoms, watching these shows, enjoying like the messages and stuff like that. It's crazy what it does for you. People might not think it's important, but it does develop character in a lot of ways, I think.
I agree completely. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people that I've met over the years who have said the same thing, basically, that, watching Alan and Joanna parent us on the show, actually they use things and not techniques, but, attitudes and understanding and things that they learned on our show in dealing with their own children, then that's huge. I mean, I'll tell you right now, being around Alan and Joanna, who were Joanna's still here, but Alan being gone, two of the most wonderful people I've ever known. Alan was and still is to this day one of the great inspirations in my life, just because not only was he one of the most talented human beings I've ever met. I mean, I don't know if you know, the man not only acted, he played saxophone, piano, and guitar, could sing, wrote music, wrote jingles, was a stand-up comedian. He actually
I didn't know that.
He either wrote or, no, I know he wrote it, either Bette Midler or Barry Manilow's first television special, he actually helped write all the dialogue for their like banter that they do during. I mean, the guy was incredibly talented.
Yeah, I didn't
And
know
on
that
top
either.
of that, one of the coolest human beings you would ever meet. One of the most loving, warm, caring guys you could have ever known. And
That's
humble.
awesome.
You know,
That's
I mean, a
awesome.
guy who has it made 10 times over and just humble and kind and loving, you
Yeah,
know. And I try my best to emulate him in every way I can.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to have a figure. Let me ask a question like from you saying that right now that I was just kind of really just thought of. Did it ever become challenging for you to not really like decipher or whatever, but for you to like have like the mother figure that's, hey, I got my mom at home and I'm kind of like the man of the house. I'm like holding all these responsibilities, but then I got my mom when I'm on my set. I got my mom and dad, I'm on my set and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Was it ever kind of like a challenge to kind of like, develop those relationships and maintain those relationships?
I wouldn't say a challenge, more of a blessing. You know, it was really like having two families, you
Yeah.
know, having a second set of parents and siblings who loved you and were looking out for you.
Mm,
And that's truthfully, I give all the credit for the good experience that I had in the business to my mother and to the people around me on the show. They're the
gotcha.
ones who kept me safe. I had people looking out for me. I had a mom who was involved. I had a mom who was there to watch out and make sure I was okay. I had a
Yeah.
mom who went to the parties with me, the big PR parties and whatever else. And you walk in and, oh, yeah, there's people doing blow on the counter. We'd go in, you go get the pictures. Yes, I was here. And then mom would walk me right back out the door.
Beautiful.
You
Yep.
know, I
How you
had
supposed to
someone
be.
looking out for me. A lot of
Beautiful.
these horror stories you hear unfortunately come from the parents not being hands on. You know,
Gotcha.
they wouldn't, given, I'm not criticized, there could be many reasons for that. You know, they have other siblings and the parents are busy taking care of them,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But a lot of times, these kids in the industry are left in the hands of people that they shouldn't be.
Gotcha. Yeah, man.
And
It's gotta
given
be
as
in.
much as we loved everybody on our show, I mean, I had an incredible cast, crew. I mean, we knew our cameraman's kids. I mean, that's how close we were. You knew the lighting guy's wife. You knew, I mean, we were a really tight group. But even that being said, one of our executive producers went to prison for production of child pornography
Mm.
about 5 years after the show went down.
Holy
And one of
crap.
our stand-ins on the show, who also ended up working on Nickelodeon and a bunch of other shows, had some child abuse charges brought against him years later from his time on Nickelodeon. So it was there, even as good of a set as we had,
Yeah,
there
man.
were still opportunities or things that could have gone wrong. But
Yeah.
I had 100 people looking out for me every day, including my family and everybody else's. So I've always looked at that as more of a blessing.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
for sure,
at the
man.
end of every season, I would cry. You know,
Gotcha.
when we had to go down for the summer, I'd go sit in Joanna's lap and just like bawl because I was leaving my other family.
That's
Not that
awesome.
I didn't love my family at home, but they were truly my other family. So I always
Yeah.
looked at it as more of a blessing. It never was that complicated for me.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, and it's so hard to hear because being just a kid and like having seemed like you were like just because I guess because of other responsibilities, and it also must matter like your character as a person as well. Like even as a kid, people forget kids pick up on a lot. Kids are very intelligent, man.
Oh yeah.
In their own ways. You don't have to just be book smart and stuff like that. Sometimes you just have that kind of demeanor and it just works well in all situations. But that's really all power to you, man. I'm really glad that you were able to be in the industry and really enjoy it, and kind of get from what you got from it and really have a good time and feel good about it. Because we do hear it. You do hear it, man. You hear it
Okay.
constantly about, Jeanette McCurdy just came from Nickelodeon. She came
Mhm.
out and just wrote that book. And, it was crazy because I was Beeline, don't judge me. I was like an iCarly fan and stuff. I was into it. I was like, I like
Mhm.
Drake and Josh. I like the little Miranda Cosgrove. I like the show. It's a good show. It's interesting.
Mhm.
But when she came out, she was come on different topics and talk about how she loves her mom and this and all this. And then she came out with this book, like, I'm glad my mom's dead. And it was all this information about, how her mom used to force her to do this stuff and, kind of degrade her and stuff. And it's just very crazy because, like you said, Jeremy, there's so many different times where it's like, you're the breadwinner. Like if you're not doing this, you just, got lucky at your, last audition where you just hit the mark. But sometimes parents are struggling and they're like, oh man, might be your only way out of it. And it's like, if you're not trying to do it, or if you're frustrated doing it, you don't really want to be a part of it, and your parents are like, no, you have to do it, we need this, you. That shit must be incredible, man.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately it does, and it happens more often than most of us would like to think.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was blessed in that, even though, yes, I was the breadwinner at the time and all of that, my mother never allowed that to go to my head. Okay.
Beautiful.
I'll give you a story. Teen Beat or Tiger Beat or one of those magazines one summer hired a tour bus to take a bunch of us kid celebrities down to San Diego for the weekend. And we were going to go hit like the water park and the zoo, and they were just going to take pictures and make a whole issue out of it, for whatever coming month Tiger Beat or Teen Beat or whatever it was going to release.
Got it.
And my dad, who, my mom and dad have been divorced, and my dad and I only did the, traditional 80s every other weekend thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always been close, but that was how often I got to see him. So he decided to go on this trip with me. And it was really cool. I was glad, I was getting to spend that time with him.
Yeah.
But he saw how a lot of the other kids treated their parents. He saw one kid basically tell his parent to F off. He saw another,
I got you. Yeah.
Because they ran the show.
They ran the show. Yep, exactly.
And later that night, my father basically said, you do know that if you ever spoke to me like that, you'd be hearing EKG machines, right?
That was supposed to be.
I said, oh, there's no doubt. Trust me, I would never be hit. But that was how I was raised. My mom was always on me. It didn't matter that, I was the breadwinner. I had chores. I was a normal kid. I had to help out around the house. I had to do this. I had to do that. If I was going to talk back, I was probably picking my face up off the floor.
Yep.
So, and again, I know everybody now, oh, that's abuse. That's why it wasn't.
Nah,
I'm sorry.
man.
Okay?
Yeah, it isn't. Hell no.
I needed a smack every so often.
Yeah, I think everybody does. It ain't just you. I got mine. I'll tell you that.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
But it did. There are many situations where a parent is in the industry where a parent's afraid of losing the paycheck.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine.
If that fear is too strong, guess what? That kid's going to run roughshod over his parents. He's going to do whatever he wants, and he's probably going to get jacked up pretty bad. Yeah. I was very blessed in that, I know it sounds a little backwards. Most kids want less strict, but I was very blessed in that I had a strict family who, was always there, but made sure I kept my feet on the ground.
Yeah, man, it's important. I'm literally telling my kids that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing. Like, we're at a point where, I'm doing this and I'm kind of like trying to dive into my own, business and owning my own stuff. I'm trying to tell my kids, like, hey, man, I know you're tired of me. I talk to my kids about everything. Like, right before we got on the call today, I was literally having my son in here. Yeah. See how you do this? I'm always trying to just teach them things, man, because like you just said, with that direction and that guidance is what's going to help them when they get older, man. Exactly. Even they might not like it, but they don't know what they like, man. They don't know what they need. Everybody would just like to be able to be free and do whatever they want to do or whatever, not have responsibility. But that leads you, like you said, into a whole different direction. Usually not too much further good either.
No, but, that generally doesn't go very well.
Yeah, for real, like at all. But hey, man, so glad to hear, man. Really glad to hear a comforting story and a good outlook on, child star coming out and just enjoying the experience and having a great time. So I know you grew up on Growing Pains, right? We actually just saw a picture. I'm gonna show a picture right here, Beeline. You see, when you started and when you ended. What age were you when the show was over?
So we started when I was 8 and we ended when I was 15. So, I mean, at that point, literally, I had spent half my life on television.
Yeah. It
was crazy, man. It was a really surreal thing. But yeah, we went down when I was about 15. And I continued chasing it. I continued auditioning all the time. Got a TV movie here, a couple commercials, got this, had interest, was auditioning for big TV movies and different things. But around the age of 18, I decided to step away and go to college.
Okay.
And career wise, from the acting standpoint, that was a mistake because at the time the door was open and I had a
Gotcha.
lot of opportunities. By the time I came back about 4 or 5 years later, the door was now shut and I had to start banging on it to try and get it open again.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a
So
fickle
no,
business, man.
it's a very fickle business, and it's part of why I don't chase it every day anymore. As you were
Gotcha.
saying, I'm a busy guy. Well, that's because I got a lot of other things I do.
Yeah.
I don't chase the 9 to 5 auditions anymore where I'm running around all the time. I can't live that lifestyle 24/7. So I learned to cook from my grandmother. I used to work in her restaurant during the summers with her, although I didn't call it work. I just called it hanging out with grandma.
There you
And,
go.
you know, so I learned that. I became a chef. I went to culinary school. I podcast and I kind of jack of all trades, just in that I like being busy and you never know when that next acting job is coming. So you can't just sit around and wait.
Yeah, for
Paychecks
real.
still need to come from somewhere. So
Yeah, for
I'm
real.
very blessed that I love to cook. I have two really great passions career wise in my life, and that cooking and acting. So when one is not as busy, I can rely on my cooking and I can, do my cooking parties, or I can go cater, or I can be a private chef. Um, you know, those are the things I love to do, but I still
Yeah.
love getting in front of the camera and performing as well. I
Yeah.
just helped out a friend with a little student film she's doing for her final project. And we just had fun being, messing around and doing what we were doing. And every, I don't know, 6 months to a year or so, like right now, I'm tied into 3 projects.
Gotcha.
They're all waiting on final funding. Um, all three are horror movies. And
Me.
oh man,
I
it'll be a
love it.
blast.
I
It'll be
love
a
it, man. I'm
blast.
watching all of them. I love them, bro.
But we'll see when it finally comes to fruition. Like one of them, we had all the financing and everything was set to go, and then the pandemic hits,
Mm.
and the main investor had to pull most of his money so that he could save his business and his employees.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no kidding. That's more important.
Yep.
But that then again delayed the beginning of the film. So again, that's why I have all these side things I do.
Yeah. You have to, man. Even like you just, I mean, you just said a whole lot right there, because it's kind of like it's what I'm kind of experiencing too, man. When you're in business for yourself and you're not like at this, punching the clock and hitting the 9 to 5 schedule routine for somebody else. You have to have multiple fucking things going on, bro. You can't just sit back and just think one thing is gonna just bread and butter. You have to have this. Like I talk with my girl and we're trying to build this empire. I call it empire. I want this to be grand, but doing just multiple things. Like we literally had a meeting sitting down today. Like what are our forms of income? Like what ways can we bring in whatever? And it's because, like you just said, man, you gotta be a jack of all trades. You have to try different things. You have to try to put your foot into a little bit of everything so that you can just keep having. That's the only way to do it. I mean, unless you're just extremely talented at one thing, you can just make that happen, consistently forever.
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard, man. But
No, it
so you
really is. I mean, if you look, you see a lot of people. I wish I had been smart enough and aware enough at that young age to have paid more attention to the filmmaking side of it.
okay, I
You
got
know,
you, yeah.
Fred Savage, even Joanna Kearns, played my mom. A lot of people moved away from acting and moved behind the camera
Yep.
afterwards. And you
Yeah.
see a lot of young actors from my era, our era,
Yeah.
coming out behind the camera now.
Yeah, for
And
real.
it was a really brilliant thing of them. Most of them, started studying the art of filmmaking on set when they were working and when they were acting. I was kind of
Gotcha.
oblivious at that age. I didn't even think about that kind of stuff. I was just focused on giving the best performance and doing my end of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like Joanna, she went to our director, I think it was the 6th year, and asked straight out, can I basically shadow you? Can I sit in on all your production meetings? I'll be in at 5 a.m. whenever you're, she basically asked to be his shadow so she could start learning. And she did that the final 2 seasons of the show. And look at her now. She is quite literally one of the most working directors in Hollywood. If
There
you've
you go.
watched an hour-long drama at any time, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock on TV, she directed it at some point or another. It's one
Mm.
of the reasons why she's the one cast member I don't see very often, because she's always filming something somewhere.
There you go. Well, that's awesome. It's awesome that you also stay in contact with everybody. I know, just, a couple for everybody, for if you guys know, I mean, pretty sure people who are checking this out are like, oh man, yeah, I remember Growing Pains. Like, it was a big show. It was on ABC, right? I
Yeah,
remember
we
I
were on
remember how it
ABC.
started. I remember how with the I believe it was one of like the drawings and stuff like that or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember I used to watch that stuff. I used to watch Growing Pains. I always caught the reruns. I wasn't, I don't think I was old enough to really catch like the premiere episodes really, but I
Yeah, it
remember
would have been
watching.
85 to 92. So
Yeah, so I was 87. So I was literally like, coming up and Ninja Turtle still, and I was all that. But
yes.
I was heavy into sitcoms for the same reason you said. I was watching Night Court, I was watching like, TGIF always and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I constantly was like always in rotation with Three's Company, and I was always watching like the older, sitcoms and stuff like that. That's what we had. That was like the shows that we had when we were growing up.
Oh,
But
they were incredible shows,
they
and it
were
was
so good, man.
and
So
and it
good.
was something that practically any show on there, you could sit your kid down and let him watch without even having to worry about it, without even thinking, is
Man,
this age appropriate? Whereas, I
yeah.
mean, practically every show on television now, you got to ask yourself that question.
Yo, Jared, it's crazy that you just said that, because you literally just like, I was about to ask you something, but you literally just like took my head. I was watching today, they had the remake of The Addams Family, the Wednesday show on Netflix, which was actually really good, man. And I thought that it was gonna be like a Tim Burton did it, so that's a genius. But
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be more like kids. Like I thought it was gonna be like more kids, and they're in there cursing, and I was gonna have my daughters watching. They're cursing, like saying all different stuff. At one point, the guy had said something was like real, like innuendo, but he was talking about like my big smoker I have. You want to see my big smoke? I'm sitting there like, kids ain't watching this shit.
Yep, exactly. I mean, good show, something you and I'll
Yeah.
enjoy, but nothing that I'm sitting my 8-year-old down to watch,
And it's like, it's blowing up. It's so popular because it's the TikTok, phrase, and the girls
Mhm.
dancing on TikTok, everybody now. But it's like you just said, man, you can sit down and watch, Full House, or watch all the TGIF lineup and stuff like that or whatever. And your kids are fine. My kids don't even
Yeah.
watch TV, man. My kids watch the damn tablet, YouTube
Yep.
videos, swiping their finger for an hour. I don't know how they don't get tired. Remember, we used to click the damn remote. We used to click. Oh, we gotta find something.
Just over
Now it's
and
just
over.
swiping shit to it's forever. But I wanted to ask, so after you got done, and we actually had Larry Hankin on, because you were saying about the looking from behind the cameras and stuff. We had Larry Hankin on, and Larry Hankin, he was in Home Alone, the actor who's been in every damn movie I can remember. And he was giving us like kind of like behind the scenes of his part in Home Alone. He played the cop, and he was eating a donut, and the mom was complaining to him on the phone. And I saw that, and I was getting like inside information for a movie I watched. I'm about to watch it, within the week because of Christmas time.
Mhm.
And I saw a behind the scenes thing that was on TikTok, and it showed Macaulay Culkin. He was walking around with the video camera, like, trying to sit there and get used. And I'm like, man, this kid is over here. What, Macaulay Culkin was like, what, 9, 10 years old or
Mhm.
whatever when Home Alone came out? He's getting insight. You know what I'm saying? Just walking around with that camera, seeing how you do it, hearing the director talk to him and stuff like that or whatever. Literally building skills at that young age because he's just a part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing to me to be that aware at that young age. I mean,
Crazy.
look at the resources I had around me for 7 years to be able to learn, and it just never even crossed my mind.
Yeah. But you learned in different ways, though. I'm pretty sure you
Well,
learned in different ways. You know what I
you
mean?
pick
Like,
different. You
yeah.
definitely pick things up. I was an aware kid, and that I watched the goings on with all the crew, with everybody else. So I mean, I know what it takes to make a show.
Yeah,
but I certainly don't have the honed skills that, someone who studied with a director and watched
got you.
every move they make and sat in on all their meetings and heard exactly how they give their shot list to their
Yeah.
camera guys. And, there's so much detail that goes into putting these on. I mean, yes, without the actors, none of these shows happen. But the truth is, what makes them truly great and brilliant is all the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's a conversation that once again we've been having on this show right here, man. Even my show, like this show right here, like when I first started, man, I literally was like, oh, camera, microphone, talk, and be good. I'm good, whatever. And then you start seeing like the editing and this and that, and you make a mistake or you have a guest on, and you got to do all that stuff or whatever. And then I produced a Halloween special I've been doing for the last 3 years on the show, and kind of just formed into like my last one was really successful, but I produced it. I literally wrote it. I did everything. I kind of, did the script, whatever. And like you just said, man, I was doing simple things like where I was literally just like moving I had my girlfriend with a flashlight and she was moving the thing so the light go. And you put that together, and yeah, I'm in the front of the camera, but all the stuff that we had to do to make that look the way it did, and all the stuff that's done behind the scenes, man, the marketing, the promotion, like everything is so vital to making the things a success. And the
Absolutely.
actors and stuff like that are incredible. Of course they're needed, that they're attention grabbing, but it's like there's so much more into this industry, man, that like you said, paying attention to everything that's going on instead of just kind of staying complacent and just being in your spot
Mhm.
is vital if you want to make it in this business, man. Being a jack
It
of all trades, like you said earlier.
it
Really.
absolutely is.
Who's some of the people that, like, when you were younger, when you were like, because like we're saying, like all these sitcoms were on, and there was a lot of child stars around your time. I mean,
Mhm.
did you ever like really mingle with a lot of other ones? You got the Mary Kate and
Dur-
Ashley's.
Yeah, well, during that time, we did a lot of publicity together for the different shows. So even if we were on different networks, we were often traveling together. So, the kids from Punky Brewster or the
Mm.
kids from Charles in Charge or,
Oh yeah, Charles in Charge.
all those different shows. Yeah, we did kind of mingle. We hung out. I think probably my best friend in the industry who was actually an actor and was involved in all of it was Josh Saviano from Wonder Years.
Oh, okay.
He played Paul on Wonder Years. He
Yeah,
was one of my very good friends. Um, but yeah, we all palled around a little bit. We didn't really hang out, like outside of work.
gotcha.
We didn't connect in a lot of ways like that. But we did, when we got the chances to see each other at industry parties or PR events or whatever, we always gravitated towards each other.
Got it.
And like Ashley and Mary Kate and all that, I actually held them when they were babies, because
Oh, really?
Candace was on Full House.
Yeah, yeah.
We,
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Candace is Kirk's little sister, so we'd go to the set all the time to visit them, just to say hi, see what's going on. Sometimes we'd go catch a taping because they taped on a different night than we did,
Got you.
so we'd like go watch them film. And so I actually knew the Olsen twins when they were, in diapers. I mean, I
Yeah.
actually held them as little babies.
Those girls,
Um,
literally, man. And you wonder why they don't want nothing to do with it anymore. It's like, listen, I don't want to do that. Them girls
hey,
since diapers, man.
they
Mary
were
Kate and
from the
Olsen,
time
like,
of diapers.
yeah,
So
yeah, they grew up in front of that camera, man. But
for sure.
that's right. I forgot. Candace Cameron. But
Right.
yeah, she was Full House. That's Kirk's sister and stuff like that.
Yep.
Do you still you still keep in contact? Like you said, you talk to them more than you talk to Joanne,
Joanna.
the mom of Growing Pains.
Mhm.
So do you still like you guys get together? You guys like have like events and stuff like that with each other now when you can?
We used to do a group gathering at least once a year that Alan was the glue. It's not that we're all
Gotcha.
not close now, but Alan was the glue. He was the one
Yep.
who would pick up the phone and say, guys, save this date. Everybody come on up to my place. We're going to barbecue. We're going to hang out. We're having a family day. And we'd all bring our families and we'd just go have a great time. The last time we were all together, in a social situation was unfortunately Alan's funeral,
Yeah.
back in 2016.
Man,
Um,
yeah, that was all the way back in, yeah, it's almost 10 years, man. I remember hearing it. And you know, Alan Thicke, Robin Thicke's dad, man. And it's crazy. Robin Thicke, and it was weird because when Robin Thicke came out, I remember he came out with like, you know, the I want to love you, girl, I want to love you, girl. And I remember that song, and I'm like, everybody was like, who is this guy? Like, like this guy is like phenomenal and stuff like that. And they was listening to him, and then you know, later on, I was like, well, that's Alan Thicke's son. Like, I had no idea, man.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I mean, we all knew Robin was talented even back when we were doing the show. I mean, he could sing, he could dance. Needless to say, we were together an awful lot. Robin and I actually did pal around. I'd go stay at Alan's house for the weekend, and Robin and I would hang out. But he always had a keyboard in his room. He always had a microphone in his room. He was always doodling on music. And I mean, ever since I knew him, he was a musician, you know, even though he wasn't doing it professionally. So I wasn't shocked at all. I can tell you that right now. He always was incredibly talented. And another person who kept his eyes open. You know, he had his dad who was this mega talented person in music and acting and everything. And Robin learned. Robin was smart. He watched what made his dad successful and the drive that made him successful, you know? So I had no doubt when I saw Robin start coming up. I mean, I'm sure you know, he had already written like 4 top 10 songs for Will Smith and the Black Eyed Peas and all these different people before his first single even came out.
I didn't know that. Oh, damn. I got to get up my history.
He wrote multiple songs for, you know, Grammy-winning artists, big people, and they were all like top 5, top 10 songs that he wrote for them before his first single even came out. He's an amazingly talented musician.
He is really talented, man. He is really talented. And it's just like you're saying, man, it's just like hearing this stuff. Being a dad, being a dad is affecting my mentality because only thing I can think of is just like, damn, I gotta get on my kids, man. I need my kids to step it up a little bit, man. My kids don't want to do nothing anymore. But it's just crazy how, like you said, man, him having the keyboard always in his room, it's just a part of you, man. And some people, whatever it is, too, it doesn't have to just be music. It could be anything, cooking. You know what I'm saying? Giving your kids the ability to build that character, man, it's so important. I've been having this conversation so much on the show lately, but being able to give your kids something. Not just accepting your kids sitting around and just, you know, whatever all day and playing a game all day. At this point, even playing a game is still pretty good. But, you know, if they're going to play the game all day, try to push them in a direction or show them something. You know, I'm trying to get my son to start a Twitch channel, and that's pulling teeth.
Exactly. If you're going to do it, you know, do something where you can move yourself forward with it. And like you said, it's that character building stuff. Even if it's something that doesn't stick, even if they don't find their passion in that, they're still learning and expanding, you know, the things they know, their knowledge base and the things they can do. And, you know, and the more of that stuff you try with your kids, then eventually, hopefully they do find that one thing they're really passionate about, you know?
Yeah, it's very important.
For my oldest, it was football. He loved football. He had grown up in Texas, you know, where football is religion. And he was a starting linebacker on his JV squad. He was team captain on the defense. He was pretty skilled and he loved the game. He unfortunately got a very bad concussion his freshman year. We told him basically that one more and you're done. I said, your brain's the one thing. You want to break your arm, break your leg playing football, whatever. But he had a very, very, very traumatic brain injury on the football field. And it took him almost a year to fully recover from it. So the next year he went and he was in practice and he got his bell rung. And he actually came and told me. He said, Dad, I got another minor concussion. I'm done. I didn't even have to tell him.
That's got to be scary, man. That's got to be scary as hell. Being a parent and and it's crazy because, like, you know, football is a contact sport, but I don't think people pay attention because you have things like UFC and boxing and wrestling, and you know, it's definitely a contact sport. It definitely has kind of lightened up a little bit because they got the new rules. They try to, like, you know, avoid some of the stuff, but it's a contact sport. You know, at the end of the day.
And the biggest problem was not that it was a contact sport. Unfortunately, the school he was at didn't have enough players to make a true frosh soft team, you know, where they do the younger guys. So they moved all of those guys who should have been playing freshman ball to JV.
Oh, okay, I
So
got
you have
you.
120-pound
Yeah,
kids playing 245-pound seniors who weren't
yeah,
quite good enough to make varsity.
got it. Yeah,
He got clobbered on the sideline. He was squaring up the running back. He's about to tackle him. He had a good beat on him, and he got blindsided by an offensive lineman. And my son flew 9 feet in the air into the sidelines, popped right back up, played the rest of the half.
there you go.
I
Soldiering
thought he was
on.
fine. Then I'm sitting there, second half is starting, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, Jeremy, I'm in the stands, and I'm like looking around. I'm going, what? And I look down, and there is his coach on the field, literally screaming my name, going, get over here. I'm like, oh crap. I go running. I literally hurdled the stands, 15 feet in the air in the stands, and I hurdled the damn things
Yeah.
out there on the field. And yeah, it was a delayed concussion.
Mm,
So he was able to
damn.
play the entire first half. But when the adrenaline settled, the brain
Yeah,
swelled,
yeah.
and he basically went comatose. He didn't know us. He didn't recognize us. He finally, a little bit, looked up at my fiance and went, "Mommy." That was it for 3 hours.
That's some scary
Um,
shit, man.
no, it was terrifying. It was truly terrifying.
Yeah.
And again, we weren't going to play around with that. As much as football was his passion, we just let him know that one more injury to the head and you got to be done. And I think it was because he had seen the after effects. I mean, he had blurred vision, he had hearing issues, he had
Yeah.
things that lasted for almost a year. So when he got his bell rung a second time, it was his decision completely. I mean, I didn't even have to put my foot down and say, you're done. He was like, Dad, I got to walk away.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he was able to make that decision because yeah, some guys who they love the game, they love the sport, they love, the field,
Oh,
whatever. They don't want to, man. They'll go. I mean, you see it with fighters. Like, these fighters will stay, fighting until in their 40s.
they're ready to die on the mat. You
Yeah,
see it with a
man.
lot of those guys. And
That's
hey,
hard though.
I can understand that drive. I can. I mean, I was in martial arts for a long time. If I was 10 years younger, I probably would have been competing in the early UFC. Um,
Okay.
by the
Jeremy
time I
fighting now. Okay, growing
by the time I
pains.
quit training full time, UFC was about like 4 years, 3 years after I stopped training full time, UFC came around.
Got you.
But
Okay.
by that point, I had already started drinking, and I wasn't training anymore, and I was partying, and I was getting into my alcoholism, and you know,
Got you. Yeah. So that kind of segues kind of into like, the next segment, like, once again, like, just hearing all this stuff, like, man, you've done a lot, man. Like, congratulations on no matter what, man, you've been in a situation where in your life, you've been able to experience things that a lot of people haven't been able to experience in great ways. And you said it before, man. I think the word is just blessed. Like, you're here, we're talking now, you look comfortable, you look good. Like, so it's literally like congratulations on, making something of yourself in this world and pushing through and facing all challenges and conquering, man.
thank
But
you, man.
afterwards, so after you kind of got done with everything, so what are some of the challenges that you did face from, like, the celebrity life and
Mhm.
like life in general?
Most of my issues came more from personal trauma at home. I had an abusive stepfather. That was something I was dealing with while I was on the show that a lot of people didn't know.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, Thankfully, being on the show gave me refuge away from that.
Mm,
And, I had somewhere to go every day where I didn't have to be around him. Um, but most of my drinking, all the bad road I went down came more from me trying to suppress the abuse. It
gotcha.
wasn't so much from me getting screwed up in the industry. Now,
Gotcha.
mind you, there are effects. I mean, I will always say that there were plenty of negative effects and negative experiences being in the industry from such a young age. But they are far, far outweighed by all the wonderful experiences I got to have and all the amazing people I got to have in my life.
Beautiful.
But,
Yeah.
you know, being an actor, being on set from the age of 5, they don't teach kid actors life skills.
Yeah.
You know,
I can
they really don't.
imagine.
That's just not something you learn as a kid actor. You learn to memorize your lines, you learn to hit your mark, you learn to be more natural, to act better, to whatever. But balancing a checkbook, learning how to just study in a regular classroom setting, considering, you know, for 8 years, I had only one-on-one instruction. Um,
Yeah.
just being able to interact with people in a normal way. These are things I never knew how to do. And it resulted in a social anxiety disorder that I still deal with to this day. You know, the pandemic was not very good for that. I
Yeah.
had overcome most of my social anxiety until the pandemic, and then being hermited up for 2 years, all of a sudden it was like, oh, we have an event to go to, and like the anxiety just crashed down, and was like, I can't do it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, for real.
So
Yeah, I know
I've
it's got
had
that
to,
had to affect so many people, man. That
oh yeah,
COVID shit. You know, real that one is a big one. Being able to kind of like, be secluded from people and then,
mhm,
trying to get back into the world, into the regular swing of things and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff people didn't really, don't talk about as much.
nope. But
And that's
yeah, you
very
know,
interesting.
it was a little rough. I'm still right now fighting through that with every event, or I mean, even with I did another cooking party class that I did yesterday. I was still having the same. I mean, this is something I do. I'm a
Yeah.
chef. I was doing a cooking party for 11 people. And I was a mess the entire 2 days leading up to it. I was just anxious as could be. I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep. I'm losing my mind over it. And of course, I get there and we knock it out and we have a blast, and everybody loved the food and everybody had a ball. And the hell did I spend 48 hours of energy worry, you know? But
Cause man, it's the
it's this
mind state.
subconscious anxiety that just messes with me. So
Yeah, man.
I'm still dealing with it, but those things did kind of come from being in front of the camera and being a part of the industry, because you don't learn coping skills. You know,
Gotcha.
it's not something that you learn on a day-to-day basis being in the entertainment industry.
Gotcha.
Um, but when I started really drinking was twofold. The first was I found that it lessened my social anxiety. So
Okay.
if I had a couple beers or a few shots or whatever before I went to an event, I was calmer. I could function
Gotcha.
better. The second reason was around the age of about 19 years old or so, um, my past trauma really like came to the forefront in my mind. I had kept it very buried for a while, and for whatever reason, around the age of 19, 20, it just came full forefront and I couldn't deal with it. So my method of dealing with it was drink until I can't even think, you know,
Gotcha. Yeah.
drink until I just shut it all off. And of course, you do that long enough, and now you've got an addiction.
For
And it
real.
took me many, many years. I've been 12 years in recovery now and 2 years sober. It's 2 years
Beautiful.
sober, no, 7 years sober. Sorry, 12 years
Beautiful.
in recovery, 7 years sober. But um, you know, it's I couldn't face what had happened to me. I couldn't face the sexual abuse, the mental abuse, all that different stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I chose not to deal with it. And it, you know, everything, of course, got worse. It wasn't until I actually stopped drinking and I started dealing with that past trauma and that past hurt and all the messed up things that go through my mind because of it. When I started actually dealing with that, working with a therapist, working with, recovery groups and talking it out and actually being open and honest about what I dealt with, holy crap, now it's getting better. Now I can actually talk about it without shutting down. Now, I mean, you and I are talking about it right now. I mean, I can tell
Yeah. Yeah,
I have
and
no
I
problem
see how you're
discussing it,
open.
you
I
know?
it's really crazy because like you got me like super captivated right now. Like I'm listening to your story and I'm like, damn. Like it's just like the challenges that you don't see. I grew up watching you. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up seeing you on a show and in different things in that way. And you're a child star to me. Like I know that stuff is like happens or this stuff goes on or whatever. Whatever. What you think you know. But to hear you, like, just your realness and just like everything you're saying right now is so passionate and it's direct, and it's like exactly what you're saying, exactly what you were feeling, exactly what you went through. And even that, like you were saying before about like anxiety, there's people who can't even put it out, like even if they just can't think about it, you're not stuttering. I mean, you're directly delivering like your experience and what you went through. And I can just tell, like, when you let shit out, man, when you let it out and just speak it into like, yeah, this is what happened, this is what it is, like, just like, for people coming out the closet and all that stuff, whatever.
Mhm.
When you just allow yourself just to say, this is what it is, damn it, like, it's got to be empowering, man, because
It
you're literally just like, I don't care what people, I don't give a shit, like, I'm saying this and this is what it is, this is what happened, let it be known, I don't fucking care anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
man.
why I'm an open book now. There is
Yeah,
nothing off limits. I mean, I will talk about any of my struggles. Hopefully me talking about it benefits somebody somewhere who's struggling with
exactly.
something. But it's also for a selfish reason. The more I share it, the better I feel about it. The more I can get it out and be open and accept that that's what happened and move forward,
Yeah,
the better I feel, the more I can interact with people, the less anxiety I feel. So it's
beautiful.
it's an altruistic reason, but it's also a bit of a selfish reason as well, because like you said, when you get that venom out, that
Yeah,
hatred, that anger, that despair, whatever it is, when you finally are able to release that and just let it out and speak truth to power, it really makes a big difference. And it just,
yeah,
your spirit lifts, your
yeah.
spirit absolutely lifts.
That's awesome, man. Well, definitely glad that you had that, that mentality and you were able to break free, bro. Like, like I said, man, I can just tell from talking, you're a cool ass guy, man. It's like it's good. It's good to see that, it is giving hope to people who go through things, even like, small things. It doesn't have to be like, drastic or real. It is refreshing when you can see, hey, he went through something, man. I don't know, maybe I'm stressing too much about something, man. I need to go through stuff like, you know what I mean? Like, it does help in certain ways when you deliver a message, man. I think the world we live in now too, even though I think it's still a little unnecessary at times, but it is good that people are trying to pay more attention to how people feel and mental health and all of that stuff. It is important, man. Especially when we live where you can literally receive news and receive messages and direct comments immediately as soon as you put anything out there.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
feedback instant.
instantly, bro. Like your critics are instantly in this
Oh
situation.
yeah.
Yeah, so it can pull at your damn brain, man. But
No, it absolutely can.
yeah, definitely glad. So how's your son doing now? What did he wind up getting into?
He's actually in communications now. He went into the military and studied
Oh,
communications, and
okay.
he's out now and working for a communications company. So that's
Beautiful.
that's our oldest, and he's doing fine. And thankfully, I at least hope hasn't taken any big shots to the head recently.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, we trying to get you out of it. That's awesome. All right, Jeremy. So what are you doing now, man? So are you still
So I'm
doing the
yeah,
chefing
I'm still
fairly?
cooking. I'm still acting. We actually have a big event coming up in a couple of weeks in Bedford, Virginia. I know it
Yeah,
sounds weird. Everybody's like, "Where's Bedford?" Bedford is this gorgeous little small town in Virginia that I actually got hooked up with a few years ago with the Bedford Film Festival.
got you.
And it's a wonderful organization that is actually putting together um, opportunities and programs for local aspiring filmmakers to not only learn but be able to put their craft forward and get it out there and be seen.
Okay.
So it's a great organization, and we did the first annual film fest there. I think it was 4 years ago. It was just before the pandemic, and we're going to be doing a fundraiser coming up in a couple of weeks where I'm going to be cooking. So we're doing a whole
Beautiful.
cooking show. Um, we're selling tickets to the show as well as VIP tickets to be the 12 people. I don't know if you picture kind of like the old Emerald show where you have the
Yeah,
people around the
I
counter and
just
then he
did.
got his crowd. So we're doing 12
Yeah,
VIP seats where they'll be able to interact with me and actually participate in one of my kind of cooking party classes. And we're
beautiful.
also selling audience tickets. And the 12 VIPs will get to eat the food that I cook directly. And then my menu is being prepared by a wonderful set of chefs for the rest of the people who buy tickets as well. And
Gotcha.
proceeds are all going to, well, after taking care of what needs to be taken care of, all the rest of the proceeds are going to benefit the Bedford Film Festival, as well as the New Freedom Farm, which is this
Gotcha.
great organization in Virginia that is basically doing farm and equine therapy for veterans and first responders dealing with trauma.
Gotcha.
So they
Okay. Beautiful.
go out, they take care of the horses, they form relationships with the animals, they actually farm, they do things, with their hands that they can see immediate results and feel good about what they're doing. And it's
Beautiful.
a great organization. These families or these guys, women, they get to come in, they get to, basically live there on the farm and work with these animals and get actual treatment and therapy
Yeah.
in working with animals and working with their hands and doing something that they can be proud of.
Beautiful, man.
So
That's
it's a great
awesome.
organization. So it's going basically to them and the Bedford Film Festival so that they can start offering more opportunities for young filmmakers in the area.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
So
love it,
yeah,
man.
it's going to be an absolutely great event. We're actually hoping to have 2 days of the cooking show. If looks like we'll probably end up running out of tickets on the first day, so we're hoping to add a
That's
second
great.
day,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
both,
yeah.
raise as much as we can for all of them. So that's going to be an absolute blast. And then I think next year they're shooting to have the film festival back because, of course, the pandemic made that a little difficult. But
Gotcha. Yeah.
next year they're going to be doing the actual Bedford Film Festival again too. So I'll
That's
tell you guys
awesome.
right now, if you're in the area at all, come on out, grab some tickets, because not only is it going to be a great event, but Bedford is a beautiful area. I mean, if you like the outdoors, if you want to see just natural beauty, great hiking trails, wonderful people, some great little shops and restaurants, I'm in love with this place.
Yeah, it sounds relaxing, man. I wish I was like close to that. I'm actually in Georgia. and in Atlanta. I'm from New Jersey. And when I was coming down, man, coming from Jersey to Georgia, Virginia is so big, man. Like we were
Yeah,
driving through Virginia like for almost like 6, 7 hours, man. It's crazy how big Virginia is.
it
So
is. It's such a beautiful place, though. And
yeah.
honestly, you get that. Bedford really has that old school small town feel.
Mm,
And it's a wonderful place, great community, great people. And I love that the Bedford Film Festival is trying to, because again, think of the area. I know Georgia blew up film wise and entertainment wise because of The
yeah.
Walking Dead and Tyler Perry and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
But, there's only a few areas in this country where as a filmmaker, you can really get noticed. And
That's
what
a good
they're
read.
trying to do with this film festival is give these local filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers an opportunity to showcase their abilities outside of LA, New York, or Georgia,
Yeah, 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 for
And
sure. I never
it's a
thought
great
about that. Yeah,
opportunity for these young filmmakers. So we're really hoping we get a great turnout so we can give as much as we can to these charities, and it's
definitely.
going to be a ball. And
Beautiful.
yeah, if you go to Bedford Film Festival on Facebook or on Instagram or any of my social media, you'll see all the posts and you can click and find the place to buy tickets and stuff. But it's going to be a great event. We're actually doing I think my menu is we're going to do an olive oil poached shrimp. We're
Mm.
doing wild mushroom risotto. Oh man, I'm blanking at the moment.
No,
I have
you're
it written
good.
down, but
Listen, risotto and like I grew up. Listen. I love the cooking shows and stuff like that, man. Back in the day when you were going to school and stuff like that or whatever, kids will make fun of you and you fatty, you like cooking stuff, whatever. But now, listen, I watch cooking shows before I watch anything. Before I watch a movie, I
yeah,
love Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay, all of that stuff, man. We watch that stuff religiously. But risotto and all that stuff, man. I want to try it so bad, but I'm never like going to like the fancy restaurants that are like serving it and stuff, man, like beef Wellington and all that stuff, whatever. I would love to try all that stuff, whatever. That sounds
it's
amazing.
it's really good stuff. I mean, I just love to cook. I mean, I've
Yeah,
always had this love. I mean, I from the time I was 3 years old, following grandma around her home kitchen,
got you.
I always loved to cook.
Are you guys
So
Italian?
no, actually, have not. I'm as waspy as they get. I am English, Irish, Dutch, and German.
Got
I,
you.
I don't. I am just pick a white country in Europe. That's where my ancestors are from.
Got you.
Um, I'm about as waspy as they get, but I've really always had an affinity for Italian cooking and Italian food.
Gotcha.
Just as a chef, I've always said I probably should have been born Italian,
Gotcha.
because it's one of those cuisines that I connect with.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds amazing. Well, yeah, definitely. We're gonna put all the information for the film festival. We're gonna have all the information down here. Beeline, you know how I do. I put everything down here. Definitely follow Mr. Jeremy. Incredible story, man. I actually didn't know you were gonna come on and talk about all the different things that you were talking about. It's one thing. I do a segment on this show. It's called Talking with Strangers. And I literally just have people come on and I don't even know them. I have no idea who they are. Technically, you don't really know a lot of people that come on, but we know of you. You know what I'm saying? Like we know you were in the shows and stuff like that, you doing acting. But I didn't know you. You know what I mean? Like you had no idea who I was. And hearing your story as a person, not just like the image that I've seen and the character that I've seen, but hearing you as a person and like, you're actually a really cool individual. You got a great story, a very motivating story as well. Like, just a lot of pieces too. I think a lot of people have kind of a mentality already built up around child actors. And like I said, I'm not going to just exclude myself, but me too. Like, I think like, damn, man, what they got to go through. Like,
And some of it's deserved. I mean, given we've done a lot of this as a group of child stars, we have done a lot of this to ourselves over the years.
got it.
Like I said, the non-coping skills, a lot of the, not learning life skills, we as child actors tend to make a lot of bad decisions. And in this
Gotcha.
era, bad decisions, are seen immediately.
Immediately. Yeah. That's the
know.
difference. That's the difference, man. You can't take it back either. That's the other difference. It's like something happens and it's haunting you for the rest of your damn life. And that's what sucks a little bit, man.
Well, it does, but I mean, people, I honestly think that, in general, I've always thought if you wouldn't say it to someone's face, you shouldn't be saying it another time.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to post it on the internet, you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
You know what
true.
I mean? I mean, and maybe it's not such a bad thing that we have to consider that now and check ourselves with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It really is. And that's a great point because literally, like you're saying, like you really do need to stay. But the problem with us is your emotions, man. We are emotional beasts, man.
Believe me, if social media and the cameras in everybody's pocket had been around during my worst days of my alcoholism and my rage and all of that, I wouldn't be able to get hired anywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
I mean, truthfully, because those were my worst moments. If that was posted everywhere for everybody to see, I'd be, I would not have the reputation I have, but I've been open about that too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide from who I was. I've always said, because people always ask, well, what's the difference between, child stars of your era and child stars of now? And I always tell them there's no difference. I mean, really, there's no difference. It's just that everything they do is on camera now.
Yeah, man. Everything.
I mean, I remember being 15 years old and we were at a friend's Halloween party and we had a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
And I remember, no, probably 17 years old. And we had a huge scavenger hunt where we had to traverse the city, finding all these different things. At one point, someone had given me scotch, so I'm drunk. And I'm standing on top of the tree in the McDonald's play yard, mooning Ventura Boulevard in Los Angeles.
Yes. Wow. Okay.
Again, if that was today, that'd have been on YouTube. I'd have been everywhere. But,
TMZ, all that shit.
There's no record of it. So truthfully, I don't think there's much difference between kid stars now and kid stars then. We did wild stuff. We did dumb stuff, but we didn't have someone standing right there taking a picture of it every time.
Up your ass. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, even us, I mean, we do dumb. I mean, even out of the limelight. I mean, I think it's growing pains, right? You see what I did there? But yeah, man. Hey, Jeremy, it's been incredible having you on, man. Thank you once again so much for coming on the show. And definitely, I always say this to all my guests: feel free if you ever have anything going on, you ever just want to come back and just talk or like anything like that, man. I would love to have you back. It's been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Brian.
Very great, very great. Beeline, thank you guys so much. Once again, we got another one in the books, and what an amazing guest. You heard the story. Definitely take it for what it is. Everybody's growing up. Everybody's doing what they got to do. Don't feel scared to admit when you've done something. Don't feel mad. Don't feel bad about what you've done. Take everything how it goes. Release that pressure and just let it flow, baby. But Follow Mr. Jeremy on social media. I'm gonna put all his information down. Definitely check out the film festival if you're in the the Belford, Virginia area, Bedford, Virginia area. And please, guys, just stay strong, man. Keep going. Keep watching the Beeline. Thank you guys so much for the amazing year. Can't wait for this new year to come in. Merry Christmas, everybody. I don't know if I'm gonna have another episode after this. If I don't, Merry Christmas. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in 2023. Mr. Jeremy, got anything to say in closing?
Just check out the site. Hopefully you guys can make it out. And thank you, Brian, for having me on, man. Have a great holidays, and hope you have a wonderful new year, brother.
Beautiful, beautiful. Stay true, stay positive. Pay attention, baby. And we out.